The England World Cup squad. Now listen, I took my time to gather the relevant information. I wanted to see the squad, hear all the reactions from the players, the management, coaching staff, the relevant pundits and whatnot, and kind of gather my thoughts and then give you my thoughts. And I feel like I've got a good evaluation of why there's been certain players in and why there's been certain players out. The first player we heard speak about was Harry Maguire. Most recently, we've heard Morgan Gibbs-White speak about his omission from the England squad and what's been said to him, the reasons why and whatnot. So yeah, I feel like now I'm in a better place to speak about it. So let's speak about it. I don't feel like we're going to get any more insight or information until the actual tournament is here. So now's the perfect time to address it. So let's go through the squad as it is, as it stands. So in goal, we got Pickford, Henderson, Trafford. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Everyone pretty agreeable. Right backs, Reece James, Livramento. Left backs, Nico O'Reilly, Jed Spence. Centre backs, Konsa, Gay, Dan Burn, John Stones, Gerald Konsa. Midfielders, Rice, Anderson, Maino, Henderson, Jude, Rogers and Eze. Wingers, Saka, Madueke, Rashford, Gordon. Strikers, Kane, Watkins, Ivan Toney. So first of all, I'm going to let you know my changes. The changes I personally will make to the squad. The players I would take out and the players I would bring in. So let's have a look. We've got the goalkeepers. I'll make no changes there. No changes for the goalkeepers. Right back, Reece James, Livramento. Livramento will go for me. Livramento, when I mean go, I mean go home. Livramento will go home and I would bring in Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, his omission for me is possibly going to be the most toxic. Like when we actually, I feel like there's more to it. When we actually hear the reasons why he's absolutely having none of Trent, I feel like there's more to it. Listen, we've heard and we've seen Tuchel prefers defenders, fullbacks especially, that are more defensively minded, more athletic, rather than attack-minded, rather than technical, rather than, you know what I mean, attacking output. He more values those defensive attributes. Fair enough. But he's also mentioned form. He's also mentioned fitness. He's also mentioned specialists. He's also mentioned the importance of set pieces. So when you mention those four things, Trent's name now moves up the list. Cool. He goes down the list for those defensive attributes. But then when you mention those four things, he now goes back up the list on that criteria. Whereas Livramento drops down. Livramento is not a specialist. Livramento is not not valuable from set pieces. Livramento is not on form. Livramento is not fit. So for me, there's more to it. There's definitely more to it. And I feel like it's a personality clash. A bit like, listen, Trent is a specialist. He's an anomaly. He's a unicorn of his position. I don't feel like Tuchel wants any player like that. Tuchel wants system players that are going to just follow instructions, players that are going to read the manual. Read the manual. They're going to read the room. They're going to read the manual. I feel like that's what Tuchel prefers. I think, and we've seen it with Jude also. We've seen it with Jude. That personality clash. I feel like he doesn't like alphas. Tuchel wants to be the only alpha in the pack, clearly. And I feel like that's affecting his selection choices a little bit. So yeah, for me, I'll have Trent in there. If you're talking about set pieces, that's Trent. Listen, I've heard him mention, bringing Ivan Toney to maybe not just for penalties, but to also, if they're chasing games, he could be the up top with Kane, trying to get us a goal. He's mentioned the strength of Ivan Toney from set pieces. So if you've got Ivan Toney and Kane up front getting in the box, who's whipping those crosses in? Trent. Like, set pieces. Trent. He's mentioned, basically the scenarios he's mentioning is like, when we're playing teams that are sitting in 2 banks of 4, they're parking the bus, low block, how are we going to break them down? You bring Trent. That's how you do it. So when a team is playing like that, negative football, there's hardly any attacking threat. It's perfect for Trent. Now you don't need to worry about his defensive frailties. Even though you watch Real Madrid vs Bayern Munich, I don't think Diaz ever beat him 1-on-1. I agree that he hasn't got as much as an appetite for defending as he has for attacking. I agree that. But I don't think he's a terrible defender to not take him to the World Cup. But what he does add, and when I will say he should be used, is for scenarios like that. Teams playing a low block, you can't break him down. You bring on Trent last half hour, you got 2 big strikers up front, big centre halves, swing that ball in the box, open the door, open the lock. So yeah, I'm bringing Trent for Livramento. My 2 left backs would also be Nico and Spence, but I would add Lewis Hall. And now to add Lewis Hall, I would remove Gerald Konsa. I'll remove him. So I'll go with 4 centre-backs and I will add a left-back in Lewis Hall. Because for me, you need a different option at left-back. Nico O'Reilly likes to invert. He can go on the outside as well sometimes, but he prefers to be inverted. Jed Spence, when he does play left-back, he's always going to cut back on his right foot and recycle. So you need someone that's going to go bar line, touch line, go on the outside, overlap, give a different option, a different threat. You need someone that's going to do that. And Lewis Hall is a perfect player to do it. I was surprised he was omitted from the squad, to be honest. I wasn't unhappy like everyone else about Spence, though. I would take Spence. So I would have Nico O'Reilly and Lewis Hall as my out-and-out left-backs. I'll have James and Trent Alexander-Arnold as my out-and-out right-backs. Then I'll have Spence to cover both positions. I'll have Spence to do a specialist job, maybe for the last 20 or maybe for the whole game or maybe for a half. If we're playing the likes of Brazil, France, the wingers like Vinny, Elise, Yamal, you can rely on Spence to do a marking job, to keep those players quiet. Because like Tuchel said, he is a specialist one-on-one player. He is the fastest defender. So I would bring Spence, but I would also bring Lewis Hall, and that would be for one of the centre-backs. I don't think you need 5 of them. So Gerald Konsa, he'll be going home. Lewis Hall will be coming to the World Cup. Another centre-back that would be going home, for me, would be John Stones. And I said that my mind was made up about this before the Aston Villa game. But watching that Aston Villa game, it made me know I was correct. And I'll be bringing Harry Maguire. Now, John Stones, we hear Tuchel talk about the harmony he brings within the squad, the banter, the leadership qualities, the experience. Harry Maguire has all of that. But what Harry Maguire also has is form. Good form, fitness. His availability, he's playing games, he's in good form. And he has all the rest. Also, he has the mentality. He's been through it all. He's had court cases, he's had fans on his back, he's had dips in form, he's had ups in form, and he's always come out stronger. He's got experience. Listen, he's been to tournaments. He's a threat in both boxes. Tuchel keeps talking about set pieces and, if you're chasing the game, whatnot, Ivan, Toney, Hurricane. Add Maguire to that mix for set pieces. Carnage. Add Trent, swinging them in from set pieces. Carnage. And I'll take Dan Burn also. So you bring on Dan Burn, Harry Maguire, Ivan Toney, Trent. You bring on those 4 players. last 20 minutes chasing the game, you got the team pending. That's Trent swinging in set pieces to Dan Burn, Harry Maguire, Harry Kane, and Ivan Toney. Add Nico O'Reilly to that. He's also a threat from set pieces. Carnage. Move on to the midfield now. The only change I would make in midfield is Henderson. I'll take him out and I'll add Wharton. You have Adam Wharton, possibly the only deep line English midfielder that with one pass can create a goal scoring opportunity. I don't mean punch it between the lines into the attacking third. I mean one pass from Adam Wharton could end up with an assist. Will end up creating a goal scoring opportunity. And he's possibly the only English midfielder that could do that. Kobbie Mainoo can't do that. Anderson is maybe the only other player that possibly could do that. But Wharton can do that on a regular basis. Rice can't do that. Henderson can't do that. So Adam Wharton comes to the World Cup for me, and Henderson goes home. Again, that leadership quality and whatnot that Tuchel speaks about. Listen, we have that in Jordan Pickford. We have experience in James and Trent. We have experience in Konsa, Gay, Maguire, leadership ability. We have Burn, leadership qualities. Rice, experience, leadership qualities. We have enough. We have Harry Kane. We have enough. We need quality. We need players that are going to make the difference, deciders. Maybe for half an hour in a game. But they're going to come on and make a difference on the pitch. Not bants in the training sessions. On the pitch. So yeah, my midfield would be Rice, Anderson, Mainoo, Adam Wharton, Jude, Rogers, and Eze. Moving on to my wingers. I'll take Saka, Rashford, Gordon, and I would tell Madueke, you got to go home. And I'll bring Morgan Gibbs-White. Morgan Gibbs-White has to go for me. All the outrage was about no Foden, no Palmer, which was weird to me. Because Foden didn't have a leg to stand on. Yes, you have ability, but you've had a mediocre season, and you've been terrible in an England shirt. Palmer had a leg to stand on because although he's had a mediocre season, he has turned up for England in big games. In tournament football. So he had a leg to stand on there. But you have Morgan Gibbs-White, a tournament winner, by the way, with the England youth team. And we are possibly the only nation that doesn't place as much importance on those achievements at youth level. We're possibly the only nation that doesn't. And trust me, it makes a big difference. If you look at the teams that win senior international tournaments and you dissect how many of those players play together at youth level and won together at youth level, you will see the correlation. The Spain teams, the Germany teams and whatnot, many of their players that won at senior level also won together at youth level. And Morgan Gibbs-White is one of those who won the World Cup at youth level. So he has that experience and he's coming off the back of his best season. His best season. He's the highest scoring English player. Period. Not midfielder. English player. He's the highest scoring English player. And then you talk about... Tuchel wants to mention, not like personal traits of players and whatnot. Morgan, Gibbs-White, his characteristics are so commendable. you can see it. Like he's infectious. He works as hard off the ball as he does on the ball. And it's infectious. Players like that have quality, but also they're selfless. They are infectious for the squad, for the team. And this is what Tuchel says he wants. So why would you not pick Morgan Gibbs-White, but you'll pick Madueke, who, okay, I agree, is a one-on-one specialist. He is. But what does he do after that? That's the problem for me. He'll always have the beating of his man one-on-one. But then what comes after that is always, it always flatters to deceive for me. He's coming off the back of a season where, cool, his team achievements have been wonderful, but individually, he hasn't been the decider in any of his games individually for Arsenal. And we're going to a tournament where this isn't a season. You need deciders. You need match winners and you need players that can decide games. Morgan Gibbs-White can do that. So yeah, I'll take Morgan Gibbs-White over Madueke. However, I would be more inclined to play Morgan Rogers out wide. Although Morgan Gibbs-White can do that, I'll probably put Morgan Gibbs-White into my midfield collective. So my midfielders would be Rice, Anderson, Maino, Adam Wharton, Jude, Morgan Gibbs-White and Eze. And then my wingers would be Saka, Morgan Rogers, Rashford and Gordon. Up front, agreed, Kane, Watkins, Ivan, Toney. Now, Ivan Toney was a player that I already picked before he was in the squad. I had no idea that Tuchel was going to pick him. No idea. I was actually planning to come here and rant about Toney not going to the squad. Listen, you can check all the comment sections for TalkSport, various media outlets that talk about England on a regular basis. You'll see me in the comment section saying Ivan Toney needs to go. For his form, his ability, and the fact that he's playing in those hot and humid climates already. And for the fact that England seem to be the only country that think they are good enough to turn their noses up to players playing abroad, especially in the UAE. We see Portugal, like a good 4 or 5 starters or players from the Portugal squad either play or have played in the UAE. Cancelo just came back from the UAE. Ruben Neves is out there. Ronaldo's out there. João Felix is out there. And others. Like, that's just to name a few. Like, we can't turn our noses up at players that play abroad, especially if they're in climates that are similar to the climate where the World Cup's going to be. So yeah, I fully agree with Ivan Toney's selection. So one more time, let me just run through it. My squad will be Pickford, Henderson, Trafford, Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Nico O'Reilly, Lewis Hall, Jed Spence, Konsa, Gay, Harry Maguire, Dan Burn, Rice, Anderson, Maino, Wharton, Jude, Morgan Gibbs-White, Eze, Saka, Morgan Rogers, Rashford, Gordon, Kane, Watkins, Toney. That would be my England squad to go to the World Cup. Now let's talk about starting lineup. Let's go starting lineup. My starting lineup would be Pickford in goal, James at right back, Konsa, Gay centre back, Nico O'Reilly left back, Rice, Anderson in the double pivot, Jude in the 10, Saka right wing, Rashford left wing, Kane centre forward. Now let's talk about the players that the most contentious decisions, like the players that are out of the squad. And when I mean the squad, I mean out of Tuchel's squad and my squad. Because I've also not selected Foden or Palmer. And for me, Foden doesn't have a leg to stand on. Yes, he has ability. That's unquestionable. But he had a mediocre he had a good start to the season. People do forget that. He had a very good start to the season, then he dropped off. So overall for me, he's had a mediocre season. But more importantly, he has not done it in an England shirt for his whole career. He's had many opportunities. And sometimes there's players that are like that. They're brilliant players, undoubted talents, brilliant for their clubs. But in international football, something just doesn't click. And Foden seems to be one of those players. So for me, it's a no-brainer that he doesn't go. Now, Cole Palmer, he has a little bit of a leg to stand on, because although he's had a poor season, I feel like his clutch moments in an England shirt, possibly, you know, if it wasn't for if it wasn't for the excellent form of Morgan Gibbs-White, if it wasn't for the recent clutch moments of Eze, then he would have been in my squad. I think if I was going to take anyone out of my squad to bring Cole Palmer, it would have been Eze. But just the recent clutch moments of Eze in an England shirt, and also coming off the back of winning the Premiership with Arsenal, I felt like, yeah, I would bring Eze instead of Cole Palmer. Then for me, the next one who would be like, this guy would be on the standby list for me. This is James Garner. Everton midfielder, formerly Man United. You'd go and check all the midfielder stats from the Premiership, all the metrics, barring the attacking ones like goals scored. James Garner is number one or number two in all of them. Especially if you're just talking about English midfielders. He's right up there with Anderson. A lot of them, he's outdoing Anderson in those metrics. Yeah, I feel like he can cover a lot of positions as well. He's a centre midfielder that can do the 6, the 8, but he can also do a job on the right mid, left mid, not out and out winger, but right midfield, left midfield. He can also do a job. We've seen it for Everton. He does a job at fullback very, very well. Left back or right back. So comfortable. So comfortable. Yeah, I called it. Listen, I called it before Tuchel when he called him a mini Valverde. I said it before that. But that's exactly, no one's comparing him to Valverde, but the profile of player that he is, the ability to play many positions at a high level, and just the mentality of the player, he does warrant that nickname, Mini Valverde. So yeah, for me, he would be the on the standby list, the next midfielder on the standby list. So I took Wharton instead of Henderson purely because we're talking about a skill set that no other English midfielder possesses. That ability to play a pass from deep that creates a goal-scoring opportunity. I think the abilities that Garner could bring to the squad, Anderson already has. Rice has a few of those abilities. In terms of the versatility, I've brought 5 fullbacks anyway, so he wasn't needed there. That's another position he could have provided covering. If I didn't bring Spence, I could have brought him to cover both fullback positions if needed, and also to cover in midfield if needed. So yeah, he'd definitely be on my standby list, probably number 1 on the standby list. Another player that could feel hard done by is Jarrod Bowen. Brilliant season for West Ham individually. He brings goals. So my wingers, Rashford brings goals. Gordon struggles in front of goal. You don't know what Saka you're gonna get. Morgan Rogers brings goals, but in an England shirt, hasn't scored many goals. And Bowen Bowen is a goal scorer. He's one of those wingers. He's not a one-on-one specialist. He's a goal scoring winger. He'll create chances too, but he's a goal scoring winger. Naturally, he's instinctively a goal scoring winger. So yeah, he could feel hard done by, because I could have brought him instead of Morgan Gibbs White. I could have, as an out and out winger. But I feel like I've seen Morgan Rogers play his best football off the wing, off the left wing for Aston Villa. Like, people were talking about Morgan Rogers or Jude for the 10. If you actually watch Aston Villa, he had a dip in form. He started bad this season. Then he got moved to left wing. Buendia started to go in the camp, and then he started to light up. He started to play very well. And then he had another dip in form. Then again, he got moved to the left wing. Buendia got brought in the cam. And again, we saw the best of Morgan Rogers. And now he's carrying that form on. But we also saw for Tuchel, in one of his first friendly games, I saw Tuchel play Morgan Rogers as an out-and-out right winger. And he played Madueke as an out-and-out left winger. And they look dangerous, because they've both got one-on-one capability. They look very dangerous. Morgan Rogers was hitting the bar line, cutting back crosses, linking up. He's very skillful one-on-one. I believe he can play that role. He can play off either wing. He has that ability. But also can Morgan Gibbs White. Both coming off the back of successful individual seasons. Both full of confidence. Like I said, Morgan Gibbs White has also got that pedigree at youth level, winning tournaments. So yeah, that's the only reason why I left Bowen out. But again, he's next in terms of attackers. Bowen is next in line. Another player that could not feel hard done by, but he'll be next in line as a centre back. As a centre back option would be Levi Colwill. I feel like off ability alone, of course, he should be in there ahead of Dan Burn. But when it comes to availability, fitness, and also set piece threat, and that ability to be a squad player, I think Dan Burn just pipped him. So yeah, Levi Colwill will be next in line when it comes to a centre-back call-up. And then last but not least, a player that could feel hard done by not to be in Thomas Tuchel or my squad would be Luke Shaw, because he's had a very steady season for Man United. He's the only experienced option at left back. He's the only experienced option at left back. He's the only experienced option at left back that's had experience of previous tournaments also internationally and done well in the England shirt. So I feel like he could feel a little bit hard done by. So yeah, and he would be next in line as a fullback in my squad. So yeah, that's my squad. Those are my ins and outs. That's my starting lineup. Those are my reasons. Like, feel free to get involved in the comments. Let me know if you agree, disagree, what changes you would make, etc. Until then, just said it.